and welcome back to Unpopular People. We believe that listening and learning from each other is key for personal development and success. Today in our interview, Fein, founder of Unpopular People. This podcast episode will be the last one from my side for now, because I will focus mainly on the shop in the future. In our shop, you will find more sustainable options and more products that focus on eco-friendly fashion on www.unpopularpeople.shop. And now, have fun with this amazing interview with Ben. Hello Ben, welcome to our podcast Unpopular People.
Hello.
Hello. So the first question we always ask our interview guests is, where were you born and how did you grow up?
Okay, so hello. First, it's weird to be on this side of the microphone. Well, I mean, I'm always on this side of the microphone, but so it's interesting to be interviewed today, especially from Elisa. And as she said before, it's gonna be her last interview for now. Not that we not that we don't have her on the podcast in the future, because we also think there will be lots of topics she will cover. But the interviews with our Unpopular People members and people from our Unpopular community will be done by me. So yeah, that's an interesting change. But yeah, let's get started. I have to follow the questions as well, like everyone else that has been interviewed before. So where was I born and where did I grow up? I was born in Heidelberg, which is a beautiful city in Germany. And I was born into a loving family of 3.5 kids. I have a half brother and two older siblings, one older brother and one older sister. I'm the youngest, and and I grew up in a place called Neckargemünd, which is close to Heidelberg, not far away, like maybe 10 kilometers away. It's a beautiful little town like once there was a friend coming over and he visited me for the first time, and he comes from an area where everything is flat, and he's like, oh, you live in the mountains. I don't really live in the mountains. There's just like a bit more hills and things, lots of nature, lots of green. And also I grew up in a time where it was more common to play outside. So that was what I did a lot as well. So I don't know, what else do you want to hear?
How was your childhood like? Were you a naughty kid or were you always brave and kind?
Oh, okay. Well, a bit of everything, I would say. Naughty, I think every kid is naughty. I think they have, you test out your limits and see how far you can go with your parents or with people around you, like the things you want to explore and stuff. So brave and kind, was this the question? I don't know. I can't really relate to brave and kind. Like it's hard to say from my point or from my perspective. I think I was just a kid doing like what kids do, like I wasn't the best at school. I played with some friends. We did did some naughty things. Maybe we did some things that weren't weren't accepted or were probably a bit over the top. And I survived. I still have all my limbs that I was born with. So everything worked out quite well for me. I was always very lucky. That's what I still say. I'm always lucky. So I was probably more like a lucky kid, but not necessarily that brave and kind or naughty. I was probably just very lucky with a lot of things.
Lucky you. So, what happened? What kind of school did you go to? What kind of education did you do? And tell us a little bit about your school time.
Okay, so I went to primary school or elementary school first. Until in Germany it's from year 1 until year 4, and after this there's 3 different schools that you can go to. They usually said like, the smarter kids go to like the gymnasium, which is like the highest school level, and you go until year 12 or 13. I don't know which they changed it in between, like year 12 or 13. And after this you have your A level. Then there is another school which is called main school, which is like kids that weren't too good during primary or elementary school. And there's another one that only goes until year 9. And then there's another one called Realschule, or in English, real school. And I went to the real school, which is until year 10. But with all those other schools, like, you have to go to gymnasium to get your A level and to actually access university. So I didn't do this in the beginning. I started with just going to real school and just finishing year 10. I repeated 1 year because when I was in year 9, I went to Australia for half a year and went to high school over here where we are now at the Gold Coast. And I went to Benoa High School, which is a suburb of the Gold Coast. And yeah, that was a very interesting experience. Also, like being away from home, I didn't go with my family. I stayed over here with my aunt and uncle, yeah. So that was basically school until. So in Germany, it's possible to go after elementary school, and then you have to usually your parents. Listen to you, of course, or should listen to like the kid, what they want to do, like which school they want to go to, but also the grades they have during elementary school or primary school decide which school you go afterwards, if it's like the main school, the real school, or the gymnasium. But you can do everything. So like even if you start at the main school, which is like, I don't want to say the lowest because it's the same sort of school until year 9. Even if you start there, you can do like the other school afterwards, and you can, if you still have good grades and everything, you can still go to the gymnasium. So even if you start one school, you can easily switch between them. If you're good enough, So if you have good grades, and also if you can handle the challenge. So yeah, that's what I did. That was my school until I finished real school in year 10. And after year 10, I went to another school, which is called Berufskolleg, which goes for 2 years, and it prepares you for like the, how do you call this, Fachhochschule. You get access to the University of Applied Science, but you can also go to other universities. It really depends on your, like if you studied Latin at school. So with this school system, you probably don't study like medicine or something like straight away, because there's other like certificates you need to actually enter university for like other subjects, like as I said before, like medicine, for example. But it's pretty much the same. You can still lead up to this. So it doesn't matter which level you start with. You can still end up having like your PhD in whatever you want to have, like as an engineer or as in medicine, as a like doctor or whatever you want to become. Everything is possible if you put enough work into it. And I wasn't really willing to put enough work into it. I had a lot of support from my parents back home. I think most of the schools I did, and also later university, I wouldn't have be able to finish without the support of my parents. My mom supporting me at home all the time, and like motivating me and giving me energy and help me with everything around my life, and my dad especially helping me with studying as well. Like he actually sat down for hours and hours and studied with me to so I could achieve the different degrees that I wanted to achieve. Well, it always started with like, when I went to this Berufskolleg for 2 years to get like access to the University of Applied Science. I stopped after year 1 because I was sick of school, and I just wanted to earn money. And a friend of mine back in school, back then, his name was Frank, or is Frank. I think he lives in South America now. I don't know. I haven't been in touch with him for a long time. he was one of my best friends during this particular school, like this 1 year. And after some time, he told me about getting an apprenticeship, because having an apprenticeship in Germany means that you work for a company. You actually start to earn money as well at the same time, and you also have school again, but it's like a mix. You have like sometimes 1 month of school and 1 month of work, and sometimes you have 3 months of work and 3 months of school. It really depends on the apprenticeship you're doing. And he told me about this apprenticeship at a company called BASF. He told me that they have like it's a massive company. BASF, like for the people that don't know it, it's one of the biggest chemical companies in the world. It used to be, or maybe it is again, the biggest chemical company in the world. It has like thousands, like 90 to 100,000 employees worldwide. They produce all sorts of things, business to business only. They don't have many end customer products. They did have some in the past. They still have some now, but it's not like normal people probably don't really hear much about this company, because they sell products for businesses, chemicals mainly. So I started looking into this a bit further, and he told me like, oh, you can be a chef. And I loved food back then. I still love food a lot. I loved food back then. And
I can confirm that. Yes. He can eat a lot.
Yes.
And everyone who knows him can confirm too.
Yes. And also back in those days, like I wasn't really into exercise. I started doing some exercise when I went to school in Australia, so like going to the gym. But I mean, I was 15 years old back then and didn't really have any idea. And I was like, when I was 16, 17, I was more into like smoking weed and eating lots of sweets and pizza. And I always wanted to look like Homer Simpson and wanted to be like him as well. That was my goal. And finding out that there's like a company which pays very good money, and I also just could become a chef sounded very interesting. I think, I don't know if it was my idea, but no, it probably wasn't. Like when I told my parents about the idea of starting an apprenticeship, they looked into the different jobs this company offers, and they also had a job or like an apprenticeship as a management assistant in information technology, which is basically like a person that works in the IT department in different sections, and helps out with different IT questions and whatever, but not really like a technician or anything, not really like an IT expert, more like a person that buys and sells computers for the company or something like this. Anyways, and they say like, oh, you're interested in IT, why don't you apply for this apprenticeship as well? So I'm like, okay. So I applied for like becoming a chef or assistance in information technology, management assistance in information technology. Well, in the end, maybe luckily, I don't know, I don't want to talk bad about any chefs out there, especially about our friend Nick that was on the podcast as well. I started this apprenticeship as management assistant in informatics, because that's information technology. That's what they offered me. And for some strange reason, I still don't know how, I actually got in there. It was quite a difficult process to go through all the. There was like an assessment center, they called it, where you were invited, and it was for like a full day, and you had to hold presentations and work with other people, and they had like an IQ test and all those things. And I was like, with the IQ test, I was just average, like everyone else. So like it was nothing like too special. I mean, I participated in like the, like when you had to work together with like other people and like present something afterwards. Like I was participating. Some people weren't participating, and I thought it's pretty stupid if they want to get this job. And the interview was like a group interview, and they had like 10 people in there, or 12, I don't know. And they talked to everyone, and I just told them about my experience in Australia, because that's what they asked me about. Like they didn't ask about my grades at school, and I was happy about this because my grades weren't really good. Like my whole school, it was such a struggle for me. I was never really really good, especially in French. I struggled a lot. I don't know why, because nowadays I love languages. So they asked me about like my time in Australia, and it was really easy to answer for me. So I just told them everything what I did over here, and like how much fun it was, and the experience at school, and it was really easy. So I wasn't nervous at all. Like in the beginning, I was a bit nervous, like talking in front of people, especially I was like 17, and it's difficult, when you're younger, to sit in front of like a group of grown-ups, and they ask you like this. Yeah, like strange questions, and the other people in the room, they were like wearing suits and stuff, and I was like probably the only applicant without a suit. I just, I didn't look like a bum, but I was wearing like casual stuff, I would say. Somehow that had worked out, and there were many applicants for those positions. They only offered like maybe 10 to 12 positions for this whole thing. And the group interview was just like with a very small group of people they already picked from a bigger group. I don't know how many people actually applied for this job, but in the end, no one of like the group interview, like no one of them were selected. It was only me from this group interview, and there were another, I think, how big was my group? Yeah, maybe 10 to 12 people that were actually in the end, like for this year, like that started this apprenticeship. And that went for 3 years with school and work. And I said like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. But I'm really happy when school is over, because I hated school again. And it was really a big struggle to get through school. So I finished my apprenticeship, and I said like never that I just want to work, I just want to earn money, I just want to enjoy my life, and I never want to go back to school. And a few months later, I said to my parents like, maybe I want to do my A-level because I stopped after 1 year, but maybe I want to finish this so I can actually go to university. But I said like, I just want to have it. I don't really want to go to university. I just want to have my A-level, because my siblings all have their A-level, and I want to have my A-level too. So after this apprenticeship, I started another school for 2 years, which were like evening classes. I was already full time employed like in the same company. I went to school for another 2 years. And after those 2 years, I said, never again, never go back to school. I hate school. It's so boring. And always like I only made it because my dad and my mom, they helped me so much, helped me through the whole school. So I go back, never again. I don't know. It took maybe like half a year or something, and I signed up for my first course at university. It was for economics, because I thought, with the job I'm having now is like it's based on economics, so like I do something like this. It was like a remote, not remote, how do you call it? Like an online university where like they sent me like the papers and everything, and I had to study, and then I had to like do exams or assessments and whatnot, and it was too difficult for me because I couldn't I couldn't study it this way. There was not my thing, and so I found out that there's another university which was next to my office that I worked in during this time, it was also evening classes again, next to my full-time job. As I started after my apprenticeship. I started as a service coordinator at this company, and then I switched to a financial controller at the same company. And when I was a financial controller, I started also studying economics at university next to my office, which was good because I just left the office and went into the other building. But it was also really exhausting because there were another like Tuesday and Thursday and Saturdays with uni and studying, and I was also a lot into partying during this time. And yeah, there was just everything was a bit much, but. Yeah, that's long story short, or long story long. That was my school.
What happened then? You finished your apprenticeship, you worked, and then what happened?
Well, I went to university while I was working, which was, as I said before, very, very tough. And I also realized during this whole time that this job I was doing there, I first started as a service coordinator, and then I kept on working there as a financial controller. And I was working in an office the whole time, and the people were nice and everything was okay, but it was not what I wanted. I always felt like I always thought that there's something wrong with me. I always thought that I'm the problem, and this is what I still think sometimes nowadays. That I sometimes really struggle with this. That I think maybe I'm wrong. But I slowly start to understand, and it started back then that maybe not I'm the problem. Maybe the things I think that are right, or the things I think I should do, because like this, not society, but like your experience and the people you grow up with, and like everything around you tells you that there are certain things, certain steps you follow in your career or in your life that get you to a certain place. And I thought this is the way I have to go as well. But I understood that is not for everyone. It's for some people, maybe it's for most people, but it wasn't for me. And again, it had nothing to do with the people I was working with, because everyone was very like supportive and helpful, and they lived their life. And some were happy, some were not, but that's up to them. But so I decided for myself that this is not the life for me, and so I told, I started to plan a life after working for this company. Like after working for 10 years for this particular company, I thought, maybe it's time to move on, and I didn't really know what to do. Like I didn't have like a plan on where to go or what I should do otherwise, because no one really tells you if there's, if you stop working, or if you also like give up everything else. I had an apartment, I rented an apartment, I had furniture, I had, like a Blu-ray collection and all like different belongings that I owned. And I had a good time. I had money. I had a beautiful girlfriend and a very secure job and all the things, like people sometimes dream of. But I don't know, something deep inside was just not agreeing with this sort of lifestyle. And I also thought there must be more to this, because I see everyone around me, or most people around me, living as like a similar life or like the same life, and I thought there must be more. So I decided to just risk it and just give everything up that I had so far, and maybe start all over again, start a new life. And that's why I decided to quit the job. I actually quit like at the 31st of December in 2014. I worked for another company for a half a year, which is quite a big corporation in my hometown. It's Heidelberg Cement, which was a good time too. And in terms of like the people supporting me, because I also wrote my bachelor thesis with them, finished university, and then 2015, I gave up my apartment in 2014 already, but in 2015 I also, after traveling around Europe and traveling around other places in the world, while I was working, mainly working from home back then already, but then I left Germany behind and left also everything else behind there, and just started traveling, exploring the world and see what is out there, because I think there's way more out there than we sometimes know.
And were you running away from something, or what were you looking for when you said you left everything behind?
No, I was not running away from everything or from anything, because I still had everything. I saved a lot of money during all those years I was working for the company, and which was good, which helped me, and it's still helping me nowadays. And I also had a supportive family, even if I made this big decision to go away from home. And I have my music. I still have my music. I'm very interested, and I'm very into music since I was a little child, and I produce my own stuff even now. yeah, but I mean, it was more like the thought of being in a job, and I was about to buy a house back then as well, or I thought about buying a house and, you know, moving into it and staying there for my whole life, maybe go for a holiday sometimes here and there. But every time I went for a holiday, I also knew that I had to go back, not because there's something bad back in Germany or back home. I mean, there's in every country or every place you visit, there are good and bad things. So I wasn't running away from anything. Like the things I had back then, I still have now. I just wanted to broaden my mind, and I also thought there's more out there. I saw other people, like not many, but I saw other people living in different places or different countries and having different experiences, meeting different people. And I also started, seeing other things. Like when I was in a relationship until 2012, and we went to holidays together. But even back then, I said always like, why do we have to go back? You know, like it's so nice. Like when you go to Greece or when you go to some other place and you're like on this beautiful island. And I thought that I have to go back. So like it's not gonna stay. Like this feeling's not gonna stay. And and I just wanted to keep this feeling of like going anywhere and knowing that you don't have to go back to like the old life or like the thing you had before, because there's so much more to explore. And I also think that I believe in lifelong learning. So in this sort of job, I would have been like an expert at some stage, but like also limited to what I did in this sort of job and also in this environment. But and I thought there's so much more I want to learn and I want to explore and maybe become an expert in this, because this life was given to me. And but I also think I want to at least try to have a choice, maybe doing something different than what was already given. You know, like growing up as a white male in a Western society, things are pretty easy compared to other places in the world. And I maybe needed a challenge of something, you know, like letting go of a fixed income, or like a good income as well, which helps a lot with everything. And giving up something like this is, for most people, it's scary, but it was one of the best feelings I ever had. Like suddenly not earning money like on a regular basis anymore, like not knowing what happens next, not knowing if you like where you earn your money, or like how you earn your money with in the future. And you get like way more creative. And I know that not everyone can do it, because people have family or different life expectations, or not different. Yeah, also like things that are like, I mean, people have different bodies and different minds, and so I know that it's not everyone needs this challenge in their own life. But for myself, I just wanted to have this challenge. I thought life would have been so boring otherwise, and that's why I wanted to go away. Not because I was running away, because I just thought there's more to it, to life, than just working in this office forever.
And what would you recommend people who have this dream as well? How can they realize it? How can they make it real?
If you have this dream, and if you want to realize it, you will do it. There's nothing that I can recommend, because everyone that really wants it will do it. And if you don't realize it, you don't want it.
And what was your biggest learning out of doing this? So was it a good decision? I guess yes. Tell us a little bit about your learnings from doing this big step.
Well, you asked me this question. If I wouldn't have done this step, we would never have met. So, I mean, this gives you one answer. So, And I know even if we, with everything in life, you go through like good times and bad times, and it's but if you try to avoid like those waves of things, if it's good or bad, if you try to avoid this, you won't experience any of them. So you probably won't experience like negative things, but you also won't experience the positive things. So I could have stayed back home and just live along my life, but I would have missed out on those waves of, I don't know if it's emotions or experiences and different things that has happened in the last 7 years since I left Germany behind. So it's I can't give it any like value in terms of good or bad. I can just say like it was the right decision for me, because I could have continued what I did, but I just knew like deep inside that it wouldn't have ended well, because I would have probably be very unhappy, or I would have probably be dead too.
So it seems that you're really happy now. And where did you go to first? So when you left Germany, did you have a plan which country you would like to travel and go first to this one, then to that one, or did just everything happen spontaneously?
So before I left Germany behind, I was traveling all around Germany, which is very important to say, because so many people just leave and they think they find their happiness somewhere else, but they don't know their own backyard. So this is something very important. I also traveled to other places as a backpacker, like to the UK and stuff like this, before I actually left my apartment and everything behind. And it felt more like... because I felt more like I was preparing for like the things that happen in a few years. So even if it was like 2013, I backpacked through the UK, but I already told people, because I knew I made this decision like in 2014, 2015, I will leave my job behind. And so I made friends that I told that I will visit them in 2 or 3 years latest in their home country. And I met people from Brazil, I met people from Australia, I met people from wherever they're from, like Singapore and whatever. And then when I finally left, the first thing we did was we went to Greece with my whole family, which was really nice for my mother's 60th birthday. And then I spent a couple of days with my parents in Athens. And then I wanted to go to Thailand, because my ex-girlfriend was living in Thailand during this time. So I wanted to go over there and see if we, can continue our relationship somehow. We both decided that we don't continue our relationship during the time I was in Thailand. And I also, before I went to a certain place, I checked the flights and saw like different airports where the plane was stopping on the way. And then I checked if I had any friends there, or if I want to like go out of the airport and explore this place. So, for example, between Greece and Thailand, I stopped in Dubai, and I spent a few weeks there because I knew some people there, and I just wanted to be in Dubai because I've never been there before. So it was very interesting. So that's how I basically decided on where to go. And I also, I have a strong connection to Australia. We are here now. And my grand uncle, I told earlier that I went to school over here, but that has a deeper meaning, because my grand uncle Oscar, he came to Australia in 1955 or 54, I don't know exactly which year, but the first time I came to Australia was in 1990 with my family, and then in 95 again with my family. Then I spent 2001 in Australia as a student at high school. And then I came back in 2011. So there was a 10-year gap. That's probably like where I did my, finished school and started my apprenticeship, started university and all those things. And then 2012, I came over again for a holiday. And I just wanted to go back to Australia. And when I left Germany, I was 29. And I knew that you can get like the working holiday for Australia. Wait a minute. Yeah, I was 29, so I could get the working holiday for Australia until before your 31st birthday. So I thought like, oh, I better get it now before it's too late. So I got the working holiday and spent like after Thailand, and I went to Malaysia and some other places over there. But it was like more spontaneously. I had some friends here and there, and I visited them. And I went like some places I was just curious to see. I met my friends from Canada, Roger and Serena. They're on the podcast as well. I met them over there, and we traveled around a little bit. Yeah, just in different places all around Southeast Asia, because it's also like a backpacker paradise. I don't know how it is now, but it was very easy to travel. And then from there, like my ex-girlfriend and I, we decided, okay, we won't continue our relationship. So she stayed in Thailand, and I came to Australia and stayed over here for a year. I traveled all around Australia. I went to the West Coast. I went to Tasmania, and some places some backpackers unfortunately don't do. I actually haven't been to Uluru yet, which is I don't know. Like, this is something we probably should plan to. But I stayed in the Daintree rainforest for a while. I met some really great people. Ben, who is also on the podcast, and Ramon, and then we became friends. There's two Swiss guys, and we traveled in a van all along the coast, and there was a really great time, just the whole experience. And I went to 2016. I spent a month not in Thailand, in New Zealand, because I met someone in 2013 in San Francisco. And we became friends, and he told me that he has a house in New Zealand and I should come over. So I visited him in Christchurch, and then I met two other friends that I met in Cairns before. Oh, long story short, I'm going too long here. But anyways, so I spent like a whole month in New Zealand, just traveling, coming back to Australia, and then went home for Christmas. In 2016, as a surprise also for my brother's birthday. Brought him some donuts from Singapore. I remember this. And then I went in January, beginning of January, I went to Miami, Florida again. I've been to Miami, Florida in 2015 already, and then I went again in 2017 because I ran my first marathon over there. And and for me it was, because I produce music, I also get a lot of influence from the places that I visit, and I also met a lot of people on the road that are interested into music, and I played along with Steven, who is on the podcast as well, and we made some music together, which is on my second album. So there's always, like, my travels always are influence my behavior as well, like with my music and everything. And also then, like, exercise became more and more important for me. As I said, like, I ran the marathon in 2017 in Florida, Miami, Florida. And then after this, I went down to South America and stayed another 6 months down there, just going from place to place. Also in 2013, I met a guy in Stockholm. His name is Marco. He's also on the podcast. As you can hear, like, there's the people that we have on the podcast are many people that I met, like, while I was traveling. As well as with, like, the friends of Elisa, some of her friends that she met while she was traveling, we have on here as well. And then I visited, like, my friend in Brazil. I went, of course, before that, I went to Machu Picchu in Peru and the Sacred Valley. I stayed in Iguazu Falls and also Buenos Aires for quite a while. I played music in Buenos Aires, which was great. I also played some music in Brazil, but more like on private parties and stuff. I did some live sets over there, and I made a really nice crowd in Brazil, of course, as well. And also in Buenos Aires, I went to Santiago de Chile and Bolivia and Colombia, stayed in Colombia. I met my friend that was in Christchurch, as mentioned before, that had a house in Christchurch. I met him again in Chile, and we went to Colombia together and stayed with his ex-partner's family on a farm somewhere in Colombia. Which was also very nice, and just enjoying life to the fullest. And looking back, especially now in the world we live now, and where it's not so easy to travel anymore and have those experiences, I'm so glad that I did it. I'm just so happy that I did all those things, and that I went everywhere and just, like, took the risk and went there on my own. I was always careful, and I planned and prepared as much as I could, but of course there's a lot of risk involved. And so anyways, that's 2017. I came back from there, from South America, stayed over like 2 or 3 months in Germany, like for the summer. And then I flew to Indonesia, back to Australia, and then I had a working holiday in Christchurch, in New Zealand. But I took over the house of my friend. Then now the story makes a circle, comes back to where I left off. So I visited. I took over the house of my friend in Christchurch. And so he was renting out rooms for like backpackers and travelers and students and whatever. And I took over the business. I bought it off from him. And and then I stayed in Christchurch for 1.5 years until 2018, like the whole year. And 2018, Elisa and I, so we met at the airport, which is a whole different story, which we probably talk about in another episode. And then we met, and I went back to Christchurch, but then in January 2019, Elisa came to Christchurch, and and then we just came back to Australia, traveled around Australia a bit. Beginning of 2019, arrived back in Germany 1st of April, and then spent for like 9 months in Germany until we left and went back to Indonesia. And then, beginning of 2020, we arrived at the Gold Coast and have been here since then, because of certain reasons, obvious reasons.
Wow. So I think for every place you visit, we could have another episode, all the things you experienced in these countries. I think it was just really a short summary of all the places you've been so far. That's amazing. I think it's so inspiring. And we heard people led you to places.
And people that are also now on the podcast, which I think is interesting. So that's where the idea also came from, I guess.
Right, this is what I want to say. So the community makes total sense when you look at Unpopular People, at the Unpopular People community. Now I think we should also talk a little bit about Unpopular People. So where was the idea born for starting this podcast, which is now a big community?
Yeah, that's easy, because I in 2018, when I lived in Christchurch, and I'm the last years have been, I'm a total addict when it comes to podcasts. I listen to it like every day, like hours and hours, and I also am. Some people will hate me for this, but I listen twice the speed. I got used to it, so I just like 2 times the speed. I started with 1.25 times the speed, and now it's 2 times the speed. So it's I listen to a lot of hours of podcasts during the day. Like every time I walk somewhere, when I do exercise, when I just sit somewhere, like I always listen to podcasts. And I read when I'm back home or when I have time to read, or when I sit down or something. But I like all the other times, I listen to podcasts all the time. And I was always inspired by like the stories and the people that I heard on there. And I think there's so much greatness out there. And I can just highly encourage everyone to get into the podcast world. And if you commute or if you go through daily life, and if you have the chance, like a day, 30 minutes, just to listen to something, it really will give you a little bit of extra knowledge and experience or whatever you get out of it. So I have this really good friend, which his name is Miguel. He's on the podcast as well. And I always found his way of life very inspiring, and he's a very cool dude. He talks very fast because he has a lot of knowledge, and he, of course, tries to get it out there too. But he's a very, very inspiring person. And he was one of the people I thought of when I thought about Unpopular People, because I thought, like, there are so many people I know that have so much knowledge, and they're like so cool to listen to, and so interesting, and I learned so much from them. And I thought other people can have the same experience, like learning from those people, even if they're not popular. I thought, like, those people are not popular. They're like street musicians, or like they just do like normal things. Sometimes they don't want to be popular. Most of them don't want to be popular. They just want to live their normal life, and like whatever they call it, normal, and just have a joyful and meaningful life. And that's all they need to, that's all they need for themselves. And I thought it's so important to share. And I also thought of those stories being like having the same importance as the stories of popular people. So and like it was probably like February 2018 or something, and I maybe just came back from like a festival in New Zealand, and I was lying in bed, and I thought of instead of interviewing popular people, like interviewing unpopular people. And not in a unpopular in a bad way, like more in a positive way. Like they have so much to share, but they're just not popular or not known or whatever you want to call it. But I thought unpopular sounds good. That's why this thought came up, and I shared it with you, Elisa, when we met, and you found a way to now have those people on the show. And it's just the beginning of something, like a community that's growing and growing, and it grows very slow, but it will pick up the pace as soon as we have our own portal set up, like in our own sort of application, which people will be able to use and share their knowledge even easier than it is now. And also, like, all the people we have on our show, hopefully most of them or all of them will be part of this community. So everything you listen to on here will be available even easier available in the future. So it's a big project, and I love it so far, and I'm not gonna give up.
And what do you mean with application? Could you explain that a little bit more?
So there's different. You have so many options nowadays to find people that can do certain jobs for you. If it comes to like different like services which people offer, like building a website, or helping you with creating content for anything, or like even like someone to check your spelling or like writing with you when you write something. There's so many like services that are offered online, but I also thought like those unpopular people that we have on our show, they offer something very cool, and this is like sometimes just life knowledge. We had Annie, an indigenous woman from here, from Australia, and she carries so much knowledge, and like I want to like, I found a way. I think I found a way to actually help both sides, like people that want to learn from those people, and also like the people that want to, like, they carry the knowledge with them to actually share it with someone else. So this is like a situation where you have someone that's that maybe in the past wasn't able to bring this knowledge to the world, and now they have a platform to do this, and maybe also to make money with this, because I mean, in the end, we all still need to pay for our food and for our life, and but this is a way where people can go and can have an inexpensive way to access this information without paying a lot of money for certain coaches, for exercise, and for all sorts of things. Because this application or this platform that I'm trying to build here will be based on normal people. We're still unpopular. It's like the people that will be participating in this, even if they're like good coaches and they can help you with whatever you want to achieve in life, it's still gonna be affordable. And that's probably the main difference between like this platform I'm trying to build here and other platforms that are out there that maybe not offering the service, or offering a similar service which is unaffordable for the normal human being.
Yes, thank you so far for this explanation. I think this answered my question that I would have asked, what is the vision and what is the goal for the next upcoming years?
So I don't have to answer this.
You did. What we get asked really often is how do you pick the interview guest? Maybe you can answer that for all people that ask these questions to us.
Yeah, it's a very difficult and very scientific process. We worked with a bunch of professors from Harvard, from at a university in the US. We worked with them together to figure out a way how to actually find people that are suitable. Okay, so no, we actually picked them randomly. There's a bit of a system behind it. Like it's usually like Elisa and I, we talk about it. So for the people out there that are interested in this, we talk about like, oh, would this be a good person to interview? What do you think? And it has really nothing to do with if they impress us or if they don't impress us, or even if we like them or if we don't like them. You know, because this is not the point. Because we believe in knowledge, and we believe that. Like all evil comes from a lack of knowledge. So if there's any way you can share knowledge with others, even if we agree or if we disagree, I think we have done something good. And so what we're trying to do is to get like a wide range of topics on here, but also something that people can learn from. And so I guess there will be many people, or there are already many people on there. Like, to be honest, like most of them we really like, and they're like some of them are really close friends, you know. So it's of course this has something to do with it as well. But we also had people on there that we've never met in person, or I never met in person, or Elisa never met in person. But it was still a great interview because it just. We thought there's a lot to learn from them, and what we also look for is people that don't want to show off, because there's enough people that show off, and they do a good job in this, and we don't want to ruin their career. So we don't want people that want to show off. Like we want people that are, they're more like we catch them by surprise sometimes, or most of the time. Sometimes people are like, oh yeah, I thought of this, or I saw this coming. It's usually. Sometimes we also have people on there that ask us, but it happened maybe 1 or 2 times so far. Like most of the time, if someone asks us if they can be on the show, it might happen, but the chances are very low, because if someone comes up and asks us, do you want to interview me? We kind of know that this person already has set a story in their head. And this, I don't want to say ruins the experience, because it can still be like a good experience and there can be still like a lot to learn from. But it's not the same, because a set story gives us little room for asking questions that show if they're honest with it. You know, if they really have an idea what they're talking about. Because if there's a set story, the story will always go down the same path. But if the story is not set and they just carry this knowledge along with them, we can ask them any question and they can come up with an answer. And yeah, so far we had a really good experience with all of our guests, which was really good. Some were suddenly very shy when the microphone appeared in front of their face, and some were suddenly like very talkative when the microphone appeared in front of their face. So yeah, everyone reacts differently. So yeah, it's a bit of randomness, but it's also a bit of order. So yeah, that's mainly how we pick our guests.
Yes, that's true. And when you started this project and developed this idea, where did you take your inspiration from? So were there, I don't know, some idols you followed and that influenced you in a good way, that you said, oh, this person is doing really well? Was there anything that influenced you?
Well, I have to say this. The thing is, like in general, like with this podcast, and I experience it myself. There's so many things you want to say, but there's also like you can't put a life in like a 1 hour podcast or a 2 hour podcast. But what I wanted to say in the beginning, and what I probably better say now is I'm really interested in people. So I hope this answers the question, because I'm really interested in people, and that means like I'm not interested in like a crowd, like I'm interested in like the individual. I mean, the crowd shows a lot of, gives you a lot of information, like how certain groups or how certain societies or whatever, like how they react, like different cultures and everything. They give you a lot of information, which is very good and very interesting. Like data is very cool. Like I love data, but I get data from books, right? So I read a book and I get data from it. But from people, you get something completely different and unique. And even if it's something I don't agree with or I never want to experience, I still find it interesting. For example, like someone that goes or was in prison or has to go to prison, or someone that's is very sick, with some disease, like something that might kill him very soon, or someone that experienced, I don't know, like something very good as well, like something that's, nothing for me, but maybe something that's, like I probably never want to experience because it's too risky, like some sort of extreme sports, I love extreme sports, but I'm like there's things you're just not into it, but I still found it very interesting to hear what brought them to like do this. And I also know that if there's one person, there's more out there. And I also think if I can learn from this one person, even if I'm not interested in this, someone else might be able to learn from them. So the inspiration comes from those people, from like the different characters, and I just love I'm just very interested in people, and I know like I get an argument so many times when I say this with others, because there's sometimes people believe in this, people are generally bad. I think not people are necessarily bad. I think there are bad ideas, and there's also, as I said before, lack of knowledge. So because no one gets born in the world. I look at the babies. What do the babies do wrong? Like babies, they don't come to the world and want to take over and want to become like the next Hitler or whatever, another politician. So babies are born and then they are fed with different like information, cognitive functions, and a lot of ideas and subjective, objective information. And then they grow into like their own life, and they feel like they're making their own choices. But the question is like how much of their choice was designed by their upbringing. So and I find this interesting because like a baby from that has grown into like a person that I can talk to from like a different part of the planet has still so much like knowledge that I want to learn from. And even if I can't relate to it, because that's where we never can really relate to it, but we can still learn from it. And that's why listening and learning from each other is key for personal development and success. And it's what I experienced in my life, because only by knowing people around me that taught me how to run a marathon properly, even if they weren't like, the fastest in the world, but I learned from them, like how to do an Ironman. I learned from people that are not popular. I learned from popular people. I got from them the data, the raw data I received from popular people, but the real life information I got from unpopular people. Yeah, so that's where I get my inspiration from. Long answer. I'm sorry. I'm always talking too much. Sorry, Elisa.
Yeah, so I think long answers are great because they explain everything in detail. Thank you so much.
I think so too.
You mentioned that you run a marathon and that you did an Ironman. And since when has sports been important for you? And also you are a personal trainer aside. How did that happen?
Okay, I try to keep it short. So the Ironman I did the Ironman distance. I have to say this because it was not an official event. I trained like in 2018 in New Zealand. I trained a whole year for like doing the whole distance. So it means like 3.8 kilometers of swimming, 180 kilometers of biking, and 42 kilometers of running. And I just wanted to know if I'm capable of this, because I hear so many times, oh, this is not possible and this is not possible. Like what I heard also earlier in my life when I started going away from Germany, people told me like it's not possible to have this sort of lifestyle. And maybe I just wanted to prove them wrong. And also when people talked about Ironman and doing something like this, I realized, it's if someone tells me it's not possible, like for me, I still want to see maybe I can do it. And so that's why I just prepared for a whole year to train and to be able to go for this distance. And it worked out. So, and now being a personal trainer, because I started after I said in the beginning that I went to a gym when I was 15 here in Australia. And when I came back to Germany, I stopped for a while, like until like maybe 21 or something, maybe 22, because I was more into like partying and girls and not really into like going to a gym. But I also realized, if I look like crap, it will be harder to find any girls. And also I can party longer if I'm just healthy and fit. So so I thought it might be a good idea to hit the gym, as you would say. But so I started working out again, going back to the gym, did this for a while, excessively, maybe a bit obsessively as well. And I think when I stopped going to a gym, I became really fit, because then I started to understand that fitness doesn't come from like lifting weights. Fitness comes from other things as well, like from running. I was always running, but like the long distances started a bit later on, and also like high intensity workouts, EPOC, like excessive post oxygen consumption, like when you do any sort of high intensity training, you use more calories afterwards as well, and I don't know. It's like I learned a lot about those things, and I just got more and more interested throughout the years. And when I left Germany, I didn't have to go to a gym anymore. All I needed was my own body. So I was able to just train myself, be toned or be shredded or whatever you call. Like sometimes I need a pull-up bar, so I'm always looking for like a playground everywhere we go, because then I can do pull-ups, or even at the door I do pull-ups or something, and the rest is just body weight workout. You can do like single leg squats if you want to train your legs a bit more, and you don't have to lift the weights. If you want to be a bodybuilder, you might have to lift weights, I understand, or power lift or whatever. There's different sports where you need weights. But in my personal life, and I know many people that share the same opinion, it's you can be like fit and healthy, and you can look awesome just by using your own body weight. I did this for a long time, and when we came to Australia last year, 2020, I came with the intention on doing my certificate 3 and 4 in fitness. Also, that guy gave us the opportunity to have a visa over here and working over here in Australia, which was very helpful just to live an enjoyable life, because you still have to pay our bills. I didn't win the lottery or anything. I had savings that I used in the past, and we still have to use now, especially with COVID. You have to, don't find a job straight away. And so, and then I did my certificate 3 and 4, and which gave me the opportunity to actually start officially working with clients. And that's what I do now. And also the last year, until now, just finished my diploma of mental health, which was very great, because now I'm actually working with people with mental health issues. I also do disability support work, and I can use my skills as a personal trainer and use this as treatment options. I do with some of my clients or friends, because after you spend so much time with someone, they become friends as well. So I do training with them. I do this boxing because I learned a lot from the friends I was traveling with in like Save and Ramon I mentioned earlier here in Australia. They were teaching me a lot of Muay Thai and boxing and all sorts of things, and I picked up a lot of stuff from all those unpopular people I met on the road, or like wherever I could talk to someone. I picked up a little bit more, and we had also Mike Miller on the show. He taught me a lot of things about how to train someone box fit, to just use like certain movements as an exercise, So I'm not a professional boxer, but people book me many times to train them in boxing. I can just tell them how to, like the basics, how to do some basic stuff in boxing, and it's mainly about fitness and a bit of self-defense. Also, my friend Miguel, who I mentioned earlier, he taught me Barao Sukbo. He's a master in this. He was very supportive, and he showed me like the basic moves of Barao Sukbo, which is knife defense. But I'm not good enough to train anyone else in this. But just in general, to get a general idea about this. And I think exercise has a lot to do with like lifestyle choices. I think exercise is one of the healthiest lifestyle choices you could make, or you can make in your own life. So and using this for someone that struggles with daily activities because of mental health issues or other things that stop them from achieving certain things, or also in my in the work as a disability support worker, which is in Australia, it's very nice because I'm self-employed, like 100% self-employed, and I have different clients where I go to. And I spend a lot of time with them. We become friends, and we do a lot of cool things together. I just built a pond for someone the last few days, and I can use my fitness level to go through this also sometimes hard work. But I can also sit with someone else, like another client, where like I help with the computer, or I have someone else that I do a training with, just like, like to help him with his ADHD, or someone with an intellectual disability. I can help him with, with training just to stay focused, or help with memory and those sorts of things. So you can combine this very well, and also spending time, again, as I said earlier, I'm just interested in people, and I love to listen to their stories, and I also think there's so much to learn from both sides. Like I don't want people to come up to me and think that it's just one side, and I tell them what to do, and they should do this and this and this because this is my life and this is my decisions. I just want them to make their own decisions, so I can also learn a bit from them. So it's a give and take. So it's really nice. Like the job I'm doing at the moment, combining mental health with fitness with my clients, is one of the best things I've ever done. And to come back to your question in the beginning, why I left the job behind, because of things like this, like the jobs I had in the last years. If it was hospitality for a while, which was interesting, or which was like living on a farm for a while, which was interesting. But all those experiences, they make my life so much more meaningful and interesting. And I think I would have never had this if I would have stayed in my old life. And again, I say this to everyone who's listening and thinks like, yeah, I want to do this too. But it's quite challenging and hard. And I understand everyone that enjoys a comfortable life. I enjoy a comfortable life as well. Sometimes it's just, for myself, I made this decision, and it made me really, really happy.
That's really good. Where do you take your motivation from? So you did so many things, and normally everyone in life, everyone has their ups and downs in their life. So when there is a downside in your life, where do you take your motivation from to continue and to believe in you and to continue with this way?
Well, I think I just have the same up and downs like everyone else, and I don't feel more motivated than others. But I believe in I have this belief that if I do something now that might takes a little time to finish, but then I don't have to do it in the future again. So for example, I use a lot of like routines, or I use also certain like shortcuts on my phone, for example, to do certain tasks for me. And I know it takes time to learn about these things, to learn about those things, to set them up and everything. And I understand that some people don't want to go into something like this, like how to program a shortcut on your phone that makes your life easier. But that's what I want, So, for example, I want a shortcut on my phone that does a task that I would have to do like every day. Like, I don't know, for example, in the morning when I wake up and I go outside and I sit down and I have like a certain routine. And I want certain apps to come up automatically. It sounds random, but it's just you don't have to like look up the application and you have to open it and everything. And it takes a bit of time to build this shortcut, and it's like very simple. There's other things like certain music that comes throughout the day, or certain watch faces on my watch that change on different times and stuff. Otherwise, I always have to click buttons and I always have to pick up my phone and I get distracted by it and everything. So I don't have to do this anymore because I also already have those shortcuts installed. And so I believe in this. So if I put in a little bit of work now, I don't have to do this work later, because I think I'm maybe just a lazy person. I try to save time by doing the work now, so I don't have to do it later. Because if I don't do the work now, I have to do it for the rest of my life, and fuck no, I would hate this. Like, why would I? I don't want to work my whole life. I rather, like, if I had the chance to like do work now for like a whole year in a row, and never have to work again, I would do it. And and other people, I think, don't want to give up something like this. And I don't know, like, this is my mentality. And I don't know if it has to do anything with motivation. I think things also just come very randomly. Sometimes I just feel like, oh, okay, this is the right thing to do, and I just want to challenge myself. I want to see if I'm capable of doing certain things. So if there's a task which seems impossible, then I want to do it. And flying to the moon sounds impossible, and I want to do it, but I don't know. Maybe, hopefully, one day I'll be able to do it, and I think I will. I think I will be in space one day too. But I don't know, and that's where the motivation comes from, because I know to actually go to space or to go anywhere in life, do you have to do certain things, and because I know I want those things so badly that I would do anything that doesn't hurt myself or other people to actually achieve it.
Yeah, nice. Thank you so far. You told us about your routines. What are your routines? What is the first thing you do in the morning after you wake up?
The first thing I do in the morning is I take a big poo-poo, and then I wake up, and then okay, seriously now. I try to get up at 5 a.m. every day. So there I have an automation which plays Soma FM in the morning. It's like my favorite radio station. They have different stations on there. So in the morning it starts with Soma FM Fluid. And I think it's a nice way to get up with like music. So I get up at 5 during the week. On the weekends it's turned off, so because I think I just want to give myself time to sleep in. I usually still wake up at around 4:35 anyways, and then I come out, like go outside into the kitchen. I'm just pointing to the kitchen, which doesn't make any sense because nobody sees it. And then I prepare like a athletic greens smoothie for Elisa and myself, which is like a nutritious drink, and we got used to it, so we have it every day in the morning. And then I drink this, and after this I have a little bit of apple cider vinegar in the same thing, just to get the rest, which is like set in the glass or in the cup, whatever. And then I drink this as well with a bit of water. I take magnesium L-threonate also in the morning, because I've felt since we started doing this that it enhances a bit of cognitive functions for myself and memory. I prepare also at the same time while I do those things. I do like a peppermint tea for both of us, or a green tea for me, or whatever we have here at the moment, just for the morning. And then I sit down and I do a breathing technique which takes approximately like a minute. It's basically what Wim Hof does as well, but I do like my own little version, because I heard in the Huberman Lab podcast, which I will everything I will put in the show notes, of course, that there is that breathing techniques really help with like to support your immune system. And after this breathing techniques, I feel like I'm switched on. I also try to get a bit of light, either from outside or from like the top light of the in the house if it's winter, so I turn on the lights, and then I start meditating for about 10 minutes, a guided meditation by Sam Harris with the Waking Up app, and after this when I'm done with this, I study Mandarin, which I started now more than 600 days ago. I have a 600-day streak. I'm using Duolingo, so just like a free application for
just to interrupt, it's really funny when I come out of the bedroom and I just hear some funny sounds like and I think like, oh, what does it mean?
Yeah, so, that was not really Mandarin. What is it right now?
This is how it sounds for me.
Yeah, like every language sounds for everyone a bit different. Like I think when we speak German, it's like, it sounds horrible for other people. And if you're not used to it. But anyways, like I find it fascinating. And I actually have a bucket list where it says like to study an Asian language. And I just picked Mandarin because out of curiosity. So I do this, and after I'm done with studying, which takes like another 15 minutes, half an hour, it should be like 6 a.m. Approximately. So this whole takes me like an hour, and then I start my exercise. I usually do like a 1 hour in the morning if we have a day off. We probably like I take my time. We start a bit later, and like today we did boxing outside. Elisa and I have like a vest, like a training vest that I use for my training. I mainly do, like work out with my own body weight with this vest, which gives me a little bit of extra body weight, which is from a friend called Kevin. He's on the podcast as well, not yet, but he will be released very soon. So I do my training, then we come back. Like sometimes we train together, Elisa and I, and sometimes we do it individually. And then we usually have breakfast together on a weekday, on the weekends as well. And then we, I usually start working for my clients around 8 o'clock. Sometimes it depends on how long we take with the breakfast and how long time like everything takes. But yeah, like around 8 o'clock I start working with my clients. Or if I have like a client that I start at 7 a.m., I just use this as like my training. So I run to like my client's place and just I train with them, or I train a little bit later than after my first client in the morning. After this I usually I'm usually out during the week most of the day, and to like help everyone, like whatever they want to do. It's every day is different, like from building a pond to going to a theme park to doing training, or help someone to tidy up their rooms, or just like daily stuff, a bit of cooking, maybe help someone to do like healthy lifestyle choices, to support anyone in their with their individual needs. This is what my day usually looks like. And then I come home on different times. Sometimes I come home a bit earlier. It really depends on like the people I'm working with, because they're all very nice and flexible, which makes my life so beautiful at the moment, like being so flexible or taking a day off if I need to. I communicated with them, and it's usually fine. So this gives me a lot of freedom. And then in the evening when I come home, there's things to do around the house. Elisa helps me a lot with this at the moment, because she sometimes works in the evenings, and she's she is home, and we like have dinner together. And then I sometimes work on things like Unpopular People. I work on my music. But like the main work around the music and everything is actually happening more on the weekends when I have like hours like of spare time, because I need a few hours if I really want to like get started with like producing and preparing my next album and all of this. It takes a lot of time, so I sometimes won't be able to do it in the evening, so I just do it on the weekends. Yeah, so that's what it basically looks like a normal day. Again, like every day is slightly different. The morning routine is always pretty much the same because that really gets me started into the day with a few things, and I already accomplished a couple of things. Oh, I forgot to mention something. The very first thing after I get up is to make my bed. And this is what I learned a few years ago. And I don't know where I learned it, from a podcast or someone told me, but it's such a good habit because first task is done, and even if the whole day turns out to be shit, you come home and your bed is made, you can at least, you come back home and you have a nice bed and you can go in there and just sleep if you need to. So that's something I can recommend to everyone.
Yeah, and when you do music on the weekends, tell us a little bit about your music projects. What have you done so far with your music projects, and what are you working on at the moment? And for listeners that don't know that you are producing music, what kind of music is it?
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I was always into music. Like since I was a child, I played guitar quite early on, and blah, 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 blah. You can read this all on the biography on my website, www.ur-music.net. But yeah, music is very important. I love all sorts of music. Not so much pop music. There's a lot of sometimes there's good pop music, but it's hard to find for me. Like I when I listen to music, it has to have some sort of, I need to connect to it somehow. And pop music is too plain for me to connect to. I think I understand why it exists, and I think there's sometimes good pop music out there, but most of the time it's just too plain for me. But anyway, so I love rock and roll, I love blues, I love especially blues, I love, but I also love electronic music, and I grew up with a lot of electronic music around me. I grew up in my dad plays in a rock and roll and blues band, but I don't know, I got drawn into electronic music quite early. My brother was always into electronic music as well, and I don't know, it was just the time that I grew up in, and it started back then, in the early 2000s or the late 90s when everything became electronic. And I loved it, especially underground techno and the hard techno music and all those things. And that's what I mainly produce. I would call it techno music, maybe a bit trancey sometimes, or electro. I like melodies, so it has to have some sort of melodies. I love classical music, so I put some classical parts in there as well. And I started with a friend together in 2011. I met Nicolas Morinier. So I don't want to make fun about his name, but he hates to be called Nico. He's on the podcast as well, only in German, unfortunately. Maybe we should get him on there in English as well. And Nicolas Morinier, he's French, so he likes to be called Nicolas. And we started making music together, and we released an album as Tailgate Chamber. That was our band name, and it's electro. He's singing and doing vocals, and we played guitar, and we made, it was just a very nice and interesting project. We played in some places around Germany as well, we toured a little bit, I would say. I think 2014 we released our album, and in 2014 we released the album Tailgate Chamber, and then I started traveling, so I left Germany behind and we couldn't produce anymore. But as a solo artist, I released my own album. So I released my first album in 2015 after I saw my cousin in Miami, and he always does my cover work. My cousin Lars, he's also on the podcast as well, 2 times, once in German, once in English. And I released the first in 2016 called young, and then grow up, mature, and after this is old. And then now I released in 2020, we released Tailgate Chamber 2. So that's our second album as Tailgate Chamber. And now in the next few weeks, I will release my 5th solo album, which is called, I won't tell yet. It will be released very soon, and I will make a public announcement about this. And this is what I have done so far. And I think also sometimes with music, when it comes to music, I think quantity sometimes it goes over quality, because if you never finish anything, you never put anything out there, or you don't dare to put anything out there, there's none of your music exists. You know, if you always think like, oh, it has to be perfect to be released, there is no perfect, and you will always struggle to release anything. So my music is not perfect yet, and it will never be. And I know that some of the things I released a few years ago, I think sometimes like, oh my god, it's, you know, like I could have done way better, but back then it was what I knew, and I try to improve like with every album. That's why it also has like this different stages of life, you know, which is kind of the development of my music, and also like the music itself is influenced by different places or people that I met on the road. So I really try to get a bit deeper into this next year and write down like the ideas behind every single track that I have done, and also there's a story behind every track, and even if I made up the story, you know, it still exists. I sometimes write down those things, and I'm actually planning on releasing those stories one after the other next year. And there's a lot to come, and I will never stop making music. Would be nice to make a living from it, but it's it's not possible yet. In Christchurch, it was actually a very good time to make music, because I met a very nice crowd over there. I want to get some of them on the podcast actually for a while, but because we're so close, like we thought we can go over there, but now with COVID, our flights got canceled several times, and I was actually booked for a festival over there, which is called Bad Dog. It was organized by my friends that I met in Christchurch, and so we did a live stream. I can put a link on the show notes as well. So I played at Luminate Festival in New Zealand as well, which is quite a nice and quite a big festival and quite popular. So this is what I played in some clubs in Germany many years ago, and also like now when we went back in 2019 to live in Germany for a few months. I also played on some parties over there. Like there's a bit of a crowd that knows my music, and I'm always happy if someone listens to it, if someone takes the time. I'm always happy if I can share it with someone and they enjoy it. And I understand if someone doesn't enjoy the music, because everyone has a different taste, and that's all good. But I will keep working on this, because I just love it. It gives my life meaning. There's many things that give my life meaning, my family, also my brothers and sisters, and they all have now, like my niece was born this week, actually, which is a very emotional thing. Like, this week has been crazy anyways. My grandpa passed away on Monday, and my niece was born on Tuesday, and it's a bit overwhelming, everything at the moment, but that's how life is. There's like ups and downs, it's just the way you try to handle it. And and music gives me kind of an anchor. I know that it's my happy place. Like whenever I can do music, it gets me back from a sad place, or also from like an euphoric moment, because euphoric moments don't last forever, and you don't want to come down to be too hard. So it's good to have music as an anchor that gives you some safety, like gives me some safety, like everyone finds their own passion, I guess. But that's what music is all about for me.
Yeah. And what would you recommend people that don't have a passion or don't know their passion yet, how to find it?
Everyone has a passion. And you won't find it. It's already inside of you. You just It's hard to tell. Like I can't look into someone else's mind, but I believe in randomness. I think that our universe is built on randomness, so yeah, like take the control away, and things will come naturally. And sometimes you just go with the flow. And if you find yourself in a place where you don't experience or you don't think you don't have a passion, which is bullshit, because you do have a passion, and you might just have to let things go. And again, it's easy to say from my perspective, because I grew up in a very loving and caring environment, and I think for others that didn't experience this in their childhood or later at life, people experience a lot of bad things and trauma. So that's why I think that's why I want to explore this a little bit more, and want to learn from those people, like how do they do it, because there are people that experience so much trauma, that like horrible things that I luckily never experienced myself. And I think it's interesting, because I want to learn from them, so I can give others in the future like a recommendation of how to find their passion. So I'm still on the path on learning this. There's no recipe for this. I can't say like, just do this and this and this and you find your passion. It's mainly use like what you have, like change expectations into gratitude, and this will already help a lot. And it's also like believe in people. Even if you experience something bad with your environment, especially with the people around you, don't stop believing in them. Like if you're a child and you like learn how to speak, which most of us learn how to speak, and you never gave up on learning this. And even if it's very hard, like it takes you years to accomplish it, but you keep on learning it because you know that you need it. And that's the same with passion. Like maybe repetition is the mother of skill. Maybe you just have to do it over and over again until you manage it. Maybe it comes easily. You don't know, but you have to like go with the feeling that you experience, and see if it leads you astray or if it leads you in the right direction. You'll see. You have to find out yourself.
Yeah, so, and with the words, listening and learning from each other is key for personal development and success. I would say listening and learning to yourself is also where the cycle closes again, and that would lead you to finding your passion, if you agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, thank you so far for all the inspiring and amazing insights about your life and your experiences so far. We learned a lot about Unpopular People, the idea about the project, the background, how the project started, the vision, what's coming up for the future. And of course, we got a little bit more information about your private life and what you experienced in your life. Thank you so far. Thank you for doing this amazing project and inspire people outside.
We do it together. You have a little bit of input here too, so don't take yourself out of the equation. It's us like working on this, so yeah.
Yeah, but for the future, so you won't hear me anymore in the podcast for now. And to mention some of the questions I asked in this interview today to Ben, they came from our listeners. So thank you so much to all the people that sent the questions through. So unfortunately, we couldn't answer them all today.
But we might have like like you saying this, like if they're, Elisa, I haven't seen the questions before, so, or I didn't see the questions before. So if your question wasn't asked, maybe Elisa, you can give me those questions afterwards, and I will probably do like an AMA in the future again. I will answer some of them if there's something that was left out. So sorry.
Yeah, and also if you have questions about the project or about Ben, just send us an email through info@unpopularpeople.com, and we get back to you as soon as possible. So yeah, goodbye from my side from now. And so Ben, thank you so much again. If there are any final words you would like to finish this interview with, now is the time for it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Elisa, for taking the time to ask me also those questions. We are all very busy, and so I really appreciate your time. And I also understand now many people that are like that we interviewed so far, and like the feeling after the interview, like the first feeling everyone had, and I have the same, is like, oh, did I mention this? Did I mention that? And yeah, there's so many things I wanted to talk about, and it's very difficult to put everything in there, and you don't want to like make this whole thing like a 10 hour of boring stuff. I think it's interesting to learn from each other, and I just wanted to also share a little bit information about me, because people were asking about this. I'm not very like the person that shares so much publicly. I'm not on Facebook anymore, and I'm not on Instagram anymore. I have my profiles there, but it's not worth like following this, because there's nothing really happening on there. I'm on Discord, and you can always find me on like through the Unpopular People community. You can get Discord and talk to me on there if you don't have my private contact details. Yeah, and I'm happy to like hear your story too. So wherever you are, or like if I know you already, or if I don't know you already, yeah, get in touch with us. I'm sorry for everyone that I haven't mentioned enough. I think there are some very important people in my life that I wanted to mention, and it was my family, my close family, and also some of the friends and some of the people we interviewed. There's so much more, and so many people I met like during my life that I'm so grateful for, and that we already had on the interview, and I hope I showed my gratitude by having them on as a podcast guest. But that doesn't mean anything, because I also have people that are like very close to, but I never interviewed them. Yeah, but thanks for everyone for listening that far, and I'm continuing with Unpopular People. I will continue with my music. I think there's way more to come. I'm very happy to take people on board, because Elisa is focusing, as she said before, on doing the clothes and taking care of the shop. So I'm thinking of new ideas on how to develop this whole podcast experience in the future, and I have some ideas already, but I'm very open to talk to anyone that wants to participate, because I think this is going to be a big project, and I think it will have a good impact on our society in terms of listening and learning from each other. And it's, yeah, so like with my final words for this, again, thank you everyone for listening that far. Thank you for listening to the other episodes, yeah, I will answer some more questions in another episode, where I just will read through the questions Elisa received from our listeners, from the audience or from the community. And so yeah, if your question wasn't answered, I will answer them in the future. If you have other questions, please go on our website and sign up for the community, as we mentioned before. Yeah, and then we stay in touch and can interact and can learn and listen and learn from each other. I will link all the albums and the things I have done, or I try to link everything I mentioned in the show notes as well. Yeah, I hope you got a little bit out of this. I got a lot out of this, because it's interesting to see how it is to be interviewed. It's the first time actually in my life that I was interviewed. So yeah, thank you everyone, and have a great day, evening, night, or wherever you are and whatever you do. Just enjoy life. That's most important. Take care.